Now I'm going to scope this young man who's had dysphagia for a couple of years now. He's had a previous endoscopy and they found a peptic stricture, and it's been referred to me to have a look and see if I can stretch it for him. Well, here we are. That's the stricture now. Yeah. It looks tight, that's for sure. Let's see if I can squeeze past it. Can't see any reflux esophagitis about it, even on NBI on the white light. Tight though. Here we are. Let's give it a push. Yeah, I can go through it. It's probably 3 centimeters or something. Here's the stomach. See if I can revert. Yeah. That looks okay. There's no cardiac cancer or anything, but it's only 23, so that'd be unusual. Turned around to me and said, well, what's wrong with me? So what do you think is wrong? Well, he's got achalasia, hasn't he? Of course. So the next question, predictably, is what can you do for me? Can you sort it out? So I said, well, you can have a dilatation. We can stretch it up for you. Its a success rate is in excess of 90%. You might need 2 stretches, because we would only stretch to 30 millimeters first time, and some believe that in young men with strong sphincters that they don't do so well with dilatation, that they're better off with a myotomy. And I explained that there is a risk, maybe 20%, that over a few years things would deteriorate, and he could then have a myotomy, or he could have another dilatation. There's no evidence that one is better than the other. But of course you can also have a myotomy and a fundoplication, because the problem with the dilatation is that you get a bit of reflux afterwards once we destroyed your sphincter. So with a fundoplication you'll have a reduced risk of reflux. Success rate is the same, and of course there is a recurrence rate which is not dissimilar to that of a dilatation, and of course you can have a remyotomy. But he then came back to me and said, well, I've heard you can do this. You can do this endoscopically. Well, we don't offer any leads, but of course POEM is another option. There was a recent paper published from a group in Shanghai, and they said that initially they had a complication rate of 25%, but after 1,000 procedures it drops to about up to 3% complication rate. So I'm very keen to start it in leads, so I can get my 1,000 patients and get into acceptable figures. Well, it hasn't quite matured yet, I don't think, so I'm not rushing into to offer it in leads. But the immediate success rate in the biggest series, in the most experienced hands, is 80 to 90% success rate, immediate success rate. And of course with time there's a failure rate, but it's probably not that dissimilar to that of a myotomy or a dilatation. The main problem, apart from the complication rate with POEM, is that of reflux esophagitis, and there's one study reported up to 47% risk of reflux esophagitis or heartburn symptoms afterwards, which is probably higher than that of a myotomy and fundoplication. The fundoplication probably does help. There was a recent study from Shanghai which looked at complication rates, as I mentioned, but unfortunately they didn't mention outcomes at all. So we don't really know if patients with a type 3 achalasia, with a vigorous achalasia, do better, and we don't really know about outcomes. How far up should you do the POEM? Halfway up, all the way up, etc., etc. Left side, right side, maybe on both sides. We don't know. There is some speculation in endoscopy circles that perhaps as you do the POEM and you go down, if you cut the right crus of the diaphragm, do you remember the anatomy? There is a sling, a right diaphragmal sling that kind of comes across, and as you take a deep breath in, it kind of closes that angle, stops the now increased abdominal pressure from refluxing up, and cutting that sling endoscopically is probably a bad thing to do. It probably increases, but maybe you can avoid it. We don't really know. The guy went on to have some investigations, and of course this is his high resolution manometry. As you can see, there's absolutely no contractions whatsoever in his esophagus, and his low esophageal pressure was measured at 66 millimeter. Now that's, that crack a nut, that's amazing. He also had a barium swallow, and you look at this contrast swallow. I can understand a little myotomy down there on the side, 4 centimeters, cutting the muscle will do a job. But why would you go up and do a long length poem? I mean, most of his esophagus is just kind of atonic, it's not moving at all, so why cut it? Makes no sense. But of course you can do the poem just at the bottom bit. Instead of you doing like a surgical equivalent poem, just cut the last inch of the sphincter. Well, what's then the point of poem? Well, I guess they don't have an incision in the side. That's about the only difference. Apart from that, it's both surgical procedures. They both have it under GA. The hazards are probably very, very similar. So it's nothing really to choose between the two. Just depends if you're going to take the work on or not, I guess. And that's my 5 minute on achalasia. Thank you very much.